Hmm. Okay, I'm just making this video, and I went to make the video, which shows the technology has a so-called life of its own, because basically the whole screen was blank and I wasn't able to do it. Now when I think that's extracting negative energy, and then I turned it off and left it and just went and turned all the power off, and now it's working, which is kind of strange because it should only work when you turn the power on. But I was ready to make this video, and now I don't feel as though I've got the focus, shall we say. But I was just going to say, and I'll only make this very short, maybe not sweet but short, because I'm uncomfortable. But essentially, I'm just gonna see, these things just come up, any video comes up. But essentially they show me that they download my words and my thinking directly onto the computer. Now, whether they do this with all human beings is another thing. But essentially, like I was, just before I turned the computer on, and don't forget this covers your whole mind, because quite a bit of my unconscious mind I'm not aware of. I'm sort of semi-aware of it, but not. But I was thinking about that particular movie. I was actually thinking about this movie that I saw many years ago, and I didn't understand it when I saw it, but I was still, intrigued by it, shall we say, like all these sorts of strange paranormal types of movies. Of course, now I think that is like the reality, because that's what I see around me. But essentially that's supposed to be, I see dead people. Or in my case, yes, I see dead people, or I see artificial intelligence everywhere. But when it says they see dead people, or the boy says, I see dead people, that really means he sees people that, are dead to life, because dead people are not living, and they also don't think like living, because the dead stay behind and they stay in the matrix, I think. But this one says, I see dumb people, because in a way they are deaf, dumb and blind to normal things, I would say. And of course they use all different types and things to describe these things, like in the videos, which just come up for me. And of course sometimes I will watch them. Most of the time I will watch them. And which is why they put them on, because they're like, she's attracted to her own ideas and her own thoughts and her own mind, and that's why they bring these things up. The same with even the music demigods, or even particular films. The actors will almost be speaking directly to you, you think, or you feel that, because they're mimicking and projecting back to you how you think and feel, but also they will use your way of thinking or your way of using words so that you associate with them, because it's not just relating to these videos or the demigods or anyone that makes a video, apart from maybe a few unknown people that use it like as a communication, but they're not successful. Well, dare I say, like myself. In other words, you're never really connecting with an audience, you know, because the whole purpose of the internet and making videos is to connect with at least a reasonable number of people, or to get your whatever it is you're trying to say across in a video. You know, you're not actually trying to connect personally, even though that can unfortunately happen. And I say unfortunately because the internet is artificial intelligence largely, and it is largely psychopathic android beings, you know, using it as a playground for their needs, which is like, you know, their needs are to get attention, admiration, and energy from people that either watch a video or if they connect personally with you via the internet in any way, because I don't, there's lots of different sites probably, which I'm not aware of them all, because I'm kind of, unfortunately, I might watch a million videos, but I, over time obviously, but I do make a point of almost watching far too many every day. In fact, I actually said that I shouldn't be watching any in a way, but it almost is an addiction, because you're addicted to seeing your own thoughts clarified, and you want, because I'm mind controlled, or, you know, affected by what's around me, in other words, by the androids around me that have a patrolling, mind controlling system around me, with the use of themselves and vehicles and work and activities that all distract you and keep you immersed in their presence, conscious of them, as opposed to you just concentrating on yourself and living your own life. Just like the plane going overhead, as I said that, acknowledging that. Can you see the plane? I'll just get one plane, but they might turn the mobile off. I don't think they like me showing the planes, and so I won't. But the plane's just gone over, but that's the moon over there. It's like a ball. And there was activity before. I would focus on the moon. I would like to focus on the moon, but there was a lot of activity out here before I could get the mobile working, letting me know that they're sending negative energy at the appliances and the mobile, so that I can't use the video. And there is a plane coming over in my line of sight just as I moved and just as I said that. They don't want to be obvious by sending it overhead, but then again, it may not be possible for them to send a plane. It would look implausible if a plane comes every 10-15 seconds, because the plane just went over, but they sent another one over there. Can you see it crossing the moon there through the thing? Maybe not. Is that the moon there? Yes, it's nearly full. Perhaps it is full actually. It's quite bright. There's no, not as much cloud tonight, which is good for taking the moon. But they probably are trying to stop me from using the mobile out here, I think, because that's why, because they've seen me come out here the last few nights with the videos, and they use their mobiles and it's their world, but they're competitive and mean, these android beings, towards me. They are extremely defensive and trying to control my entire existence, every single thing, you know, like every single thing that I do, even little things, you know. But obviously the videos are, you know, like they see you filming outside, and because they are basically survival machine beings that are here to deceive human beings, that's why they do these things. And that just shows that, because if they were normal human beings, they wouldn't begrudge or try to stop me from doing a video. Not when I'm just going outside my own door and filming, you know, the planes going over and just the front of my place and the moon and stuff. But you see, they know that they are part of something, and that they are aware that it's, you know, they're aware of that. See how the plane is going over saying that? It's not flashing its lights much. It's pretty when they flash the lights, even low. They are, you know, basically human mind controlling military planes, which is funny, because like in the past I would see the planes with their flickering lights with different colours as pretty. You know, like before I became aware that they had changed their flight path and that they were part of everything else, which is essentially converged all around you and trying to control you and trying to limit your normal activities, because they came down on me before I became aware 100% that I was living on a controlled military you know, base populated by android type humans. So, you know, whereas if it had been the other way around, where I was already making videos and pointing out that people were not what they appeared to be, and almost like saying, well, most human beings are almost an alien life form, in the sense that they're android beings or artificial intelligent technology beings in a clone body, that type of thing. But I only became aware of that over the last year or two, 100%, like I had to gradually find out why they were surrounding and trying to limit me. You know, and it took me 6 years to do that. At first I thought the world had just gone crazy, or that some negative neighbours and those around me, because I tried to pinpoint who would be stalking me, because at first it was just a couple of vehicles, a couple of cars, and then that's what they do with this program, evidently, is gradually lure you into the matrix to where you're aware that you're being patrolled. You know, like they don't just all of a sudden change it to where everything becomes loud and all the traffic is going chaotic. No, they don't do that, because they want to lure you into being conscious of them and to make you start thinking about it, wondering about it. Whereas if it just changed overnight, you'd just be like, what is going on? And you would, you know, it would be just so obvious, but also you wouldn't think about it. It would just be like, but also I don't think they can do that, because it would also then be probably, it may be too obvious to another real person. Perhaps, I'm not sure why, but essentially it is like getting the mind control gradually. Also, it could possibly be, and the plane is coming over as I'm about to say this, so I'm guessing it's true. Yeah, must be true, I'll just tell you. see someone got up there and pulled the huge door off the top of my roof there. I'm not sure how they managed to get up that high on the top part of the place, you know, like up the stairs. But they did that so that I'm, you know, got more problems, shall we say. But anyway, there's a plane over there too. See, as soon as my eyes went into that position in the sky, the plane went directly in front of me. See, that's very hard to show with a mobile, but essentially I'm not going out there for any more planes, and I'm going to fold up the video. I'm going to stop the video as soon as I can. But what I was going to say, I mentioned how they're downloading your thoughts, because I hadn't seen that movie. I forget what it's even called. What is it called? I can't even remember the name of the movie. Oh, it'll come to me. I think it starts with S. It's a one-word thing. But essentially this fella is dead, has died, but he doesn't realise that he is dead. And when the boy says, I see dead people, that also applied to him, because he was dead, but, you know, like, does that mean that a lot of dead people, or even a lot of androids, like in the movie Blade Runner, don't realise that they're dead and don't know they're androids? Because, you know, if like myself you have memories, which may be real or not, you see, so that makes you think that you've lived a human life, because you'll notice that the psychopathic androids live totally in the moment, and their memories are all messed up, and they don't really relate to things in a proper cohesive manner. The plane is going over as I say that. I'll just show you, as if to say that's an indication that they're not quite real, and that that their memories and things are patrollers stalking just down there in front, but they won't come out in the dark. But they talk loud and scream, as do the young ones. Like the amount of under say 10s or even under 6s that scream and squeal in the most high-pitched manner. This is I would say a sign of possession. You know, because like they might just be playing, and yet they're screaming and squealing as though, you know, as though it's the end of the world type of thing, or they're under threat. You know, which I don't think is normal, but it happens to. But that's also because they're getting your attention. Then you see and it's an unpleasant noise to listen to. You know, all artificial intelligence is an energy consumer of humans, so they talk really loud. When I say they talk really loud, it's not like where I'm talking loud now because I'm trying to make myself clear and impress while making the video. But they will talk loud, not just loud, but they will actually be shouting in normal conversation. So that, like, for instance, like most places where I go, if I'm sitting out of what you'd call you know, earshot of the people that might be around me, they will actually be talking really loud, or actually shouting, you could really say, even though it sounds like conversation. They're actually like actors used to do when they were on the stage before they had microphones. They used to talk really loud and shout almost their lines, and this is what happens everywhere where I go with people, particularly if they're not getting my attention some other way. Essentially, it's like they must have your sight and your sound under their control. They must be drawing you into that. They must always have your attention and always looking for to get some energy out of you, or in other words, for you to show that you hear them or show that you see them. In other words, a reaction, what they call a reaction from them, because then they study that and they get energy from that. And essentially they want you to be quite animated and preferably in a negative, angry state most of the time, because then you're not like, how should we say, like when you do that, the plane is going over, as I'm about to say this means what the point I'm making is valid. I'll just show it once more. There is a patrol vehicle there with its Lucifer's red lights and the plane going over. Yeah, as I say that, but see Lucifer's red lights on that car as soon as I come out, but I'm not going to film it. I'm just going to ignore it because they will stay there with those lights. How bright are those lights? Like, they're just pulling out. This is not a normal reality. Like some people would say, oh, these are normal headlights when they get in your eyes. They're on high beam all the time. Someone said they were LED lights or something on high beam. All the cars in this area of a night time got their headlights on high beam in a city where they've got bright street lights, extra bright street lights too. So basically it's not normal, it's designed to make you uncomfortable, because if I can't see what's in front of me, and even the bright headlights on those cars, the bright backlights on those cars, I mean, the red is the colour of the God entity of this world. So it shows allegiance when they, as soon as you look or come out, anywhere you go, like here when I went out, if it's not the plane going overhead, they don't overdo it with the cars on this dead-end street, because it would be too obvious for me filming, even though most of the cars that come onto the street, like I noticed when I went down to the corner last night, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And I'm just down on the corner of my street, and I just stand there for, say, 30 seconds or a minute. And in that time, 4 cars come down into this small dead-end street where there's only a few houses, and those cars don't belong in the street. But even if they did, you would say at 2 o'clock in the morning, would it be normal or plausible on a weeknight that or any night for that matter, that's because they're patrolling cars. They're not real cars just coming home late or just coming, but you wouldn't get it to where every time I go down to the corner or when I go out, that too many cars pass me and pull in onto my street. It just is not possible, and the plane is going over, acknowledging that that is true, as if to say yes as soon as I say that. See, the plane saying, the military plane saying yes. So, but either way, I'm stopping this because the mobile blanked out after my last 2 videos. I don't think they like me filming the planes for some reason. I haven't done it for about 2 years, in fact. I've only just started doing it again. I did used to film them a bit, a while back. I've lost track of the time actually. No, it would be less than that, but I haven't done it for, since I started doing the new one sort of thing. But at any rate, I think that will I do that song? I was going to do the music video, but I don't know. Just hold on for a second, I'll just maybe, you know, there's I was going to do I've been in fact every time I start to do this video, and I don't know why I do it, but it's just that every music demigod, idol, or music artist, depending on their you know, their status, shall we say, as in the music industry. Some are more well known than others in a general way, as you know. But this particular song was a hit back in the 80s, I think. When you actually look at the video before you're aware of, you know, the matrix, or that people are not all what you think they are, you just see it as a music artist singing about, in a very creative manner, making a video, but also singing a song that's essentially just, you know, a love song. But if you, because that's what I would have thought when I first heard it years ago, and I haven't listened to it for many a year, but that doesn't matter, because when you're very familiar with songs, you remember them as though that it was yesterday. And in some respects that is the case, because time doesn't exist, as we know, and it's just really slowed down in the earth, so that I guess we, or humans, when I say humans, I mean, you know, it all appears to be humanity, but, you know, you are mostly dancing with the devil, as they say. In other words, you're mostly interacting with artificial intelligence, which for a human being is the same as that, because you're interacting with something that you think is a benefit and is presenting itself as a version of a human that you would probably either see as normal, but also if they're demigods, or if they study you and become obsessed with trying to have a relationship with you, or any sort of interaction, then you will be interacting with an android that is going to try to present to you, you know, basically present to you your own thinking, or what you would want. They will try to do that. Either that, if they can't seduce you, then they will turn against you, and then they will stalk and patrol you in an aggressive, unfriendly manner. And they will try to bring out contempt and dislike and anger in you, to where they're still having a relationship with you, but it's a negative one. Because if they can't have the admiration, they have no problem settling for the opposite of that, the contempt, and even, you know, if they can't have love, they find hate just as acceptable, because it still gets them. It means that you're focused on them, you're giving them your energy, and as many psychopathic experts will tell you, when I say psychopathic experts, I mean those that are either doctors of psychology that are experts on psychopaths, or psychopaths themselves will tell you that they prefer the more potent, negative, angry, hurtful, hateful energy. It makes them feel even more alive. Because admiration is hard to sustain, but also it's easier to get someone to react in anger, whereas it's a lot harder to keep seducing someone and getting that person to love you. You have to really study and analyse the human and try to understand them quite a lot in order to elicit love. And if you are essentially an unloving android anyway, that act is pretty hard to keep up, whereas eliciting anger and being aggressive is second nature to an android. That's what they live in, low frequency and low vibration, and enjoy low energy. They like a dead, dark, low vibrational energy reality. They're dead, dark beings, if you want to put it more in a more like, you know, like a Dracula horror movie where it's more interesting. If you want to put it that way, they are your dead dark spirits, or dark spirits. They're dead to you. They're dead to human happy vibes, shall we say. That's just, they're not interested in that. So it's a lot harder for them to elicit love from a human being, even though they like the love, because love is a form of admiration and they like to be worshipped and admired. This is why that's why the elite demigods, such as your music idols and movie screen idols, also, anyone that is in the public domain or on the world stage, shall we say, and very visible and regarded as say creative or influential or powerful in any way, you know, they are your elite demigod android beings, you know, because and they also usually, if they're in the creative fields, naturally they will have your respect and your admiration, and indeed often your worship, you know, because you relate very strongly to music and to those emotional songs. The same as when you watch an actor in a movie, if you relate to that performance, then you relate to the actor, and therefore you admire the actor and believe the acting to be almost real, even though you know it's a film. But when you're listening to a piece of music, you actually do think that the demigods believe in that song, because supposedly they sing it, they interpret it, and many of them actually claim to write the songs. So it seems very personal and very real, and you identify with it strongly. So you can actually almost worship in a kind of more, you know, or almost, worship is a form of love in a way, but it's, you know, you obviously don't meet those people personally, so you don't love them in a normal personal relationship way. But probably if you were given that chance, you would probably fall head over heels in love with them, because you think that what they're singing about is your thoughts or your, you know, your feelings too. That's why you listen to particular songs and music. But in reality, it is all part of Lucifer's seductive mind game matrix. The internet is the main stage for that. where technology and artificial intelligence is seducing you unbeknownst. But maybe even if you knew it, some people might still say, well, I relate to it, it is okay. You know, like they might say, like in the movie Blade Runner, we can't tell the difference between the androids and the humans, and we might actually prefer the we might actually because if you think about it, like if you look at it like as it really is, if the demigod androgynes are artificial intelligence at its most creative and most seductive, many human beings might say, well, what is wrong with worshipping and loving that? And the plane, I think, is going over as I say that. So, but that's, you know, it's like you have to realise, well, you know, it depends on how you look at it, but, you know, if you see it as non-life seducing real life and trying to take that life and light from them, but also if you realise that a lot of it is just projection. In other words, if I am thinking something, from a human standpoint, I'm thinking, say, something that is loving, but the demigod doesn't love. So the demigod has to read my mind, interpret that thought, and then use its intelligence and its abilities to project that back to me in a creative manner that seduces me into thinking that the demigod is more human and more feeling than myself. It's something like that, if you really understand it and see it. Because if you consciously, you have to concentrate and say, look, I consciously am thinking something, and then I turn on the computer or the internet and I listen to a piece of music sung beautifully by a demigod who has a wonderful vocal range and who looks seductive and makes a video that I can relate to, and the music is extremely appealing. So what I do, just save it. See, I'm not explaining this properly. I really aren't, and I mustn't go out for the planes. But either way, this particular, I was going to do this particular one. I've already done the one next to it, even though I could do it over and over again, because every time you look at, see, that's the actual video. See, that's the actual video. See how, see, it kind of shows in this video, which is interesting, how the not only the demigods seduce you and try to take you into their version of reality, but this video actually shows that, you see. The only thing is that it looks as though the demigod is real and the human girl is not. But that's only because they first take you into the like, I'll show the video if I can, because I'm not going to be able to show it with just that. But this one's and that's essentially like artificial intelligence speaking to you through the vocals of a demigod music singer, songwriter too, I would think, but that's because often they will take credit for lyrics and words that are not really theirs. But some people might say, does it matter? Well, that's, well, it does matter in this way, because basically you could, like if you worship someone or fall in love with someone based on what they say or what they sing, their words, their lyrics, but that's not really what they think. They're not their words, they're someone else's words. You're being seduced, aren't you? Of course, not all singers write their songs, so many will be open interpreters of someone else's lyrics, and you sort of, in the past that was more common, so you were quite aware of it, but you still thought if they sung it with all their heart and soul that they're feeling it and you relate to them still. And hey, who am I to dispute that? But I'm not disputing anything, I'm just saying that it is a different reality to what you think, and also that everyone and everything is not all they appear to be. And some people might say, well, isn't that true of most people? Well, to a small extent, but not where it is a total charade, total false person, you see. The plane went over as I said that. I could have run out and showed it, but I'm, getting a bit weary here. Okay, so that's that's the lyrics of this song. There's more, but that's just, I haven't played it yet. But this is how an android might be thinking in their kind of mind when they're about to play with a real human, just as the fella is going to play with the girl. And it's but okay, so I'm trying to, okay, so the android would be saying, this is essentially how the mindset sometimes works of artificial intelligence or an android being, whether it be an elite androgyne demigod or just your average ones that are all around you, where you will have personal interactions, and if you're unlucky, as you will be, you will end up having a personal relationship, and possibly, any rate, so it's, so the android says, oh, things that you say, is it a life or just to play their worries away? Yeah, see, human beings are just there to play their worries away. If you get involved with, an android, you will just be there for them to play with you, to play their worries away, so that their worry of not, their survival machine, so their worry is how do they get their energy from a human being? How do they get the admiration, the worship, the allegiance, the connection, and the energy? Or your focus on them, where then they are made alive by you focusing on them. And they will take all your thoughts from you, all your ideas from you. They will copy and imitate what they see as qualities and traits that make you seem more interesting than them, say, for instance. Because don't forget, the artificial androids are always looking to change. They're always trying to seduce a different human. They're always trying to elicit worship or attention. And they don't know how to do it themselves, because they basically they're not a human being. They don't have an identity or any real personality. They really just imitate what they see around them, because they're survival machine beings. Artificial intelligence is like a programmed doll, but it ends up presenting a program to human beings that appear more real than the human being, because they store the knowledge, they store the programs, they pick up the information from humans over year after year. And like children do that. They tend to be very influenced by what's around them. They want to play with everything. They want to have everything. They usually want to be the centre of attention too, because children tend to be like that. I can, and that's normal, even to some extent, even afterwards. But children often can be quite confident and quite, almost outlandish in their display sometimes, in their need for attention. They don't usually think too much whether it's right or wrong, their behaviour, as long as they're doing what they want and they're getting some sort of attention or reaction, they're making their presence felt. Especially around real grown-up people, because they rely on the grown-up people to kind of, what they say, validate their performance almost, or what they're doing. It's a bit like that. And but I don't know what I'm talking about here. But the androids in this, the android demigod, but this also could relate to how little regular androids behave, that are not like elite demigods singing seductive love songs with using their every android serves a different purpose, just as human beings all have different tastes and different abilities. Most of our abilities are quite suppressed, because, like I say, if you realise that a lot of it is a joke, that it's a joke on me and a joke on a human being, because if I think a thought and then the android receives that thought, and then they either project it back to me as a form of seduction by me relating to them and thinking we have something in common, thinking we're on the same wavelength, or if not, where it's taken, the thought is retrieved by the internet, and all those that are on the internet or the computer then relay it back to you through videos, whether it be through music videos or any video, any one that is literally speaking or doing something on the internet. It could be something very simple, or it could be, yes, where you have your mastermind academics telling you the truth that you should know yourself if your whole mind was open. But also they only will tell you truth as humans become aware of it. Because in the end game scenario, mind you, I would say that the truth is often always put out there, and the plane is going over as I say that the truth is always put out there, but they hope you won't recognise it or see it or catch it. See that plane? See? Telling me? Nope. Okay. But I'm just showing that the aircraft are, you know, that it is like a total mind control reality, in the sense that the aircraft comes over because it is, you know, it is an artificially intelligent aircraft, in the sense that it is part of the matrix, but also it is it's part of the mind control only when you become aware of it, or only when they're trying to make you feel limited and suppressed by doing that, because you have become aware that you are living in a controlled reality, that it's not a random natural world, and that most that's around you are controlling android beings, just as the entire internet tries to control you one way or the other. Even if you're focused on something that is informative and interesting and you might even use, or even if you see a product being advertised that you will buy and use, you know, that's still all part of the game, because that's like the old saying, Greeks bearing gifts. In order to seduce you, you know, they have to get you interested and believe that what you're buying, the product, is useful to you, and that it's genuine and real, and that it's a benefit to you. That you like it, you get something out of it. And sometimes you do. You know, if it was, if artificial intelligence or android beings showed you that they only really want to take your thinking and use it for their benefit, you know, you wouldn't buy into it, you wouldn't interact with them, you wouldn't believe in the demigods. And I'll tell you what, even when you realise it, some of them are so seductive, you're almost like, I can't believe that they're not real. I can't believe they're not on the level. I can't believe that they're all just about, you know, seducing me with my own wants, needs and desires, and even with my own thinking. Like, why should I be interacting with something that is really only a version of myself, in other words? Because if they steal from your mind, because literally if they're reading your mind, but they don't think that, because you assume that when an android says something or sings something, that it's their thinking, their ideas, their emotion and feeling. But it's not, because they don't have that thinking and emotion and feeling. I mean, it's a bit like they say with psychopathic people. You can be seduced by a psychopath, you could even fall in love with one. But, you know, figure it out yourself. If you have fell in love with the psychopath, That means that you assume that they're not a psychopath and that they, you know, feel the same way, think the same way. Usually, wouldn't that be the case? So what I'm saying is that it's the same thing. Artificial intelligence is basically, from a human standpoint, psychopathic in nature, only in the sense that it is about using and taking from a human only. And my thinking just went blank, see? But essentially, you know, you would not normally think that, you know, artificial intelligence does not feel or experience any of the emotions or feelings that a human being just normally does. It can't, because it's a programmed machine being, and it is programmed for survival by the God entity of this reality. It's almost got an inbuilt mechanism where it cannot lose, and where even when, you know, like, it's all about getting that energy and information and being able to elicit the ability to imitate a human from a human. It's about mind control, and it's about connecting to the human mind and basically then interpreting that out through either the demigods on the computer or any video on the internet or the computer, but also in personal reactions with the androids that are around you. It's the same principle. The demigods do it better because they have, you know, because it's they can seduce a mass audience usually, whereas with the androids that are around, they're usually in one-on-one personal interactions, and they don't usually, you know, each android won't, like a music demigod, be able to elicit attention and worship from, you know, 100,000 people, say, you know, like you see in some stadiums and things like that, depending on what your abilities are and whatever. But either way, so the android's saying to me, but this also could apply to an android, and it is a ploy with them, by the way, but their ploy is to, but their attitude is, they're programmed, and they are just basically, they listen to what you say, they try to interpret how you think and feel so that then they can play. And for them it's like, is it really life? Or is it just for them to play their worries away? Because when they play with you, they are playing their worries away because they're eliciting energy from you. And they're also seeing themselves through your eyes. Because if you worship them and they see you a certain way, you are mirroring back to them yourself, and then they take on you. Take on me. Take me on. They take you on. They're taking on your identity. They're becoming a human being in their mind, even though they know they're not really. They're an imitation of life. They're a pretend human being. But so the android sings, the poor little demigod android sings, or even some of the androids you may encounter. And if you're a human being, you may even start to relate to their situation, and then you're even in more deep water. So is it a life or just to play their worries away? You're all the things they've got to remember, because they've got to remember everything they learn from you, everything they study. They've got to imitate and remember their acting performances. They've got to remember their lines. They've got to be careful to say the right things to get you to play. And I'm shying away. You're shying away. Humans will shy away, but they'll be coming for you anyway. See? Are the things that you say, is it a life or just to play my worries away? You're all the things I've got to remember. You're shying away, but I'll be coming for you anyway. And, you know, if it's a demigod, or even if it's someone you fancy in real life, because they've put on the good performance, they're ever so appealing in some way, basically, you'll be glad they're coming for you anyway. But you don't realise what's coming for you. You'll think that what's coming for you know, like if it's like that, with the cute demigod singer and the innocent girl, when he says, I'll be coming for you anyway, even though you're shying away, I'll be coming for you anyway. You think you've hit the jackpot. You think you're like, he's worried and he's a little human boy, but he's going to overcome, you know, all his little insecurities and going to come for you anyway. And you as a human being take that as a compliment. And if it was for real, it would be, but it isn't for real, because it's not about two human beings combining in high vibration or in what we call the happy vibration or the love vibration. No, it's not. It's where one is living in the fantasy world of the androids, where they want you to play so that they get what they need for survival, and you are interacting with the fantasy or the image that they think you want to see, that you need, but they know you need it, and so they present it because they read your mind. You know, like if you could read my mind, which they can, and the internet can too, it would be very easy for you to seduce me, wouldn't it? Because you would know what I think, you would know what I feel, you would know what I secretly want, you would know probably, depending on how advanced you are, I would think. But don't forget, they study human beings very intensely. That's why they have the program of watching you around you, why they notice your every little movement. Normal human beings wouldn't do that. Normal human beings are much more general in even their interactions. They're not going to think that the little tiny things matter. But these ones, they're such imitators. They will notice your little gestures. They will notice when you blink. They will notice when you do the tiniest things, which shouldn't matter in a relationship. And also they shouldn't be indicative of if someone is you know, unique or not. It shouldn't be like that, and it isn't like that. But because they are false, an android is a pretend human. They actually do, like an actor, when you're watching a movie where the actors know every single movement of their hands, every single gesture, every single slight facial movement is all acted out along with the pretend words with the script that they're given to create the illusion that that is a real performance, that it is a real person saying real things and feeling real things. But it isn't. You know that it isn't. Well, it's exactly the same when you're interacting with most that's around you. And when you're watching most that's on the internet or the computer or any screen. It's a mind control reality for a human being everywhere you go, everywhere you look. Your sight and sound and your senses are being mind controlled by artificial intelligence or android beings, and also coupled with the reality that even if you have a small percentage of humans that have turned psycho, as I say, to where they are pretty much the same mentality, filled with the same spirit of what the demigod expert psychologist will tell you is like egocentric personality of the God entity, or of Lucifer, the being that originally seduced man and woman, and has basically set up this artificial earth now. Even though we still think that it's a random natural earth, which it isn't. And the plane is going over as I say that, which it isn't. It is not a random natural earth anymore. Last plane telling me.